Not quite 1/4, and never just half, but the entirety of one primate, whole. It is the part of a story, an idea that means more to you than me. Hello and welcome to Full Gorilla Life. We are Jeremy Keene,
Larry Medina,
and Corey Hewlings.
Each week, we will break down an important life concept or talk with an inspiring person so that you can live your full gorilla life.
Welcome back. We're in the studio with Major Eric Flowers, future sheriff of Indian River County.
Thank you. So
Am
Am I in there enough? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, there you
All
are.
right,
I got you.
There
Yeah.
we go.
Okay. Larry's going to start out with Gorilla Gauntlet and get to know him a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll get into your story here in a minute.
Okay.
But before we do, we'll start off with some questions that the folks want to know.
Okay. Very good.
All right.
Very good.
So first off, married or single?
Married.
Any children?
One.
Any more?
No.
That wasn't part of the Gorilla Gauntlet.
Amen.
No,
Amen
no.
to that. I've one and done as
One
well.
and
Hey,
done.
That's
Yeah.
three of us.
Yeah. One and
Yes.
done.
It's kind of like we'll see what happens.
I'm always the odd man out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a
We'll-
normal fit now. I can take that.
We'll get into this in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Next.
City you live in,
Vero Beach.
iPhone or Android?
iPhones. Multiple.
Yes.
Feel
Okay.
that pain.
Favorite movie or book?
Book Illusions by Richard Bach, I believe is his name. It's the same guy who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. I'll have to check that out.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Favorite genre of music?
What a terrible, hard question. Rock, just in general.
Is there like a go-to song? So I personally, here's my thought, and being that you're gonna become sheriff,
Right.
don't arrest me. But if I was to get like a Tesla and I was gonna hit the ludicrous mode, I figure I would listen to Shoot the Thrill, AC/DC.
Okay.
Oh, you like an anthem? Yeah, what's your anthem?
Yeah. Yeah, I love Queen, so it would probably be some Queen like stadium rock song.
Okay.
But I can go the full gauntlet, literally from bluegrass music to
So what's the song they play
Post
whenever they're like,
Malone.
whenever they're like,
Yeah.
for the first time, welcome Sheriff Eric Flowers. Like, what
Can't
song-
stop me.
Country. It's
Con-
actually country. It's probably like a Zach Brown song or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Do you
those
decide
songs.
that, or does your campaign manager decide
That's
that?
probably me. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm big on the details.
Okay.
I like the little details.
Okay.
See, I would figure Can't Stop Me Now.
It's not
From
it's
having
not
a
bad
good time.
song. Yeah.
All right. So reservation or just walk in?
Walk in.
Huh.
Right on.
Yeah.
Is anybody out again?
That'd be me.
All right. Favorite type of food?
Pizza.
Okay. Yeah.
A quick go-to. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. All right. I won't divert too much. What do you drive?
I drive a 2010 Ford F-150.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
an
appreciate
old one.
that.
Yeah. So do I.
I mean, not the
beer.
Ford thing, but
Yeah,
I appreciate an older vehicle.
sure.
My truck has 200,000 miles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mine's an 05.
Yeah.
So we're on the same boat.
Yeah.
Beer, whiskey, or wine, or none.
None.
Okay.
Yeah, none.
Okay.
I was thinking about this the other day. In 2019, I went on a cruise in February, and I had it one night. I had some drinks. That's
Okay.
the last time I had an alcoholic beverage. So
Huh.
yeah. It's not. It's just my job. That's what it
Right.
is.
No, I can certainly
Makes
understand.
sense.
I
You're,
can
almost,
certainly-
you're almost a year in then. That's without having your last drink, right?
Almost. Yeah.
You're good.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah, and by that time, it's part of your lifestyle. So you're like, whatever. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not even a big deal.
Yeah, it's not for me. Like I love ice cream, I love sweets and stuff like that, and so I'd rather have that than the calories in a beer anyway. So
Yeah, I can
Add that,
understand
add that question. Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah. All right. So yeah.
Favorite flavor of ice cream? Probably just straight vanilla with chocolate on top of it, like chocolate sauce.
Okay. Like a Sunday.
Yeah, but I'm making it at the house. I'm getting like Trader Joe's chocolate sauce and putting it on top of it.
Okay.
Turn it into a concoction, my own little thing there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you say you're always on.
Yes.
How? Like, what does that mean exactly? For like
Like
a simpleton
I could get
like
up
me.
and leave in the middle of this podcast because something is going down. So that's a very
Okay.
real thing, and it happens to me in my life quite often. This past Friday night, I was at home watching the kid, little guy. He goes up to bed, and I got a call that we had a SWAT call out, and my wife's on the way home from work, and I'm not going to explain to the SWAT guys. I got to wait for my wife to get home to watch the baby, but I'm changing while she's on her way home, and as soon as she walks in, we pass the baton, and I'm gone.
Oh, wow.
And so I was out till, I don't know, I got home maybe 2 a.m. on Friday.
And what do you do currently?
So I'm the major of the Bureau of Law Enforcement. So anything that happens in law enforcement falls under my purview. I mean, if it's, from the helicopters to the canines to SWAT, law enforcement, crime scene, all of that is, at the end of the day, the buck stops with me.
Nice.
So when you get a call out like that,
Yep.
and I mean, obviously you got a lot of people on scene and people are maybe en route or already there.
Yep.
What is your thought process? Are you thinking about like I guess you're thinking about the big picture, or like on the way to the scene, are you worried about like that? I guess you got to be worried about it all, really. The activity, like what's actually happening at the scene. But then, I mean, because some of those things, you can shut down roadways, you can shut down neighborhoods, you can shut down. I mean, the scope of those things can go much wider than just what the actual call is.
First and foremost, I'm worried about my folks that are on scene, right? Obviously, if we're calling out SWAT, I'm worried about them, and I'm worried about the community in general, the other people that are around that could get hurt as part of it.
Yeah.
I trust my folks before I get on scene. And I know that when I get there, I'm going to get briefed and I'm going to take over as the incident commander. So I have complete faith in them that until I get there, they're going to have that scene under control and they're going to do what they need to do. And then that's exactly what happened when I got there. I take over as incident commander and I start looking, like you said, at the big picture. What else do we need? What isn't here, right? We've got SWAT here. One of the things that I called for was a drone. Hey, where's the drones at? We need to fly a drone in this situation. So anything we can do to add to our arsenal, add to our tool belt, as I'm sure you're aware, let's add additional people to the scenario. So anything we do to help.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So when you get called, right? Because that's kind of a big deal. If SWAT's getting called in, how is your adrenaline going? Right, for somebody who doesn't know, like me.
Yeah, so the minute I get called and told that SWAT's being activated, two things happen. One, I turn my radio on, which I have at the house. And the second thing I do is I go right to my agency phone, and I've actually got the ability to pull up our calls that are happening in real time from dispatch. So I can see in my phone all the notes that dispatch have put into that call. So that really comes in helpful because I talk to the press. I mean, that's part of my job too. And so I'll get calls from the press, and a lot of it is stuff that isn't SWAT worthy, isn't necessarily big deal, but it's something the press wants to report on. So I can pull that right up on my phone and see the history of that call and see what's going on with it and give them real-time updates. We actually had a stabbing last night. Press is calling me at 9:30 at night. They want to know what's going on. Instead of me bothering dispatch or the supervisors or anything like that, I go right through, read the notes of the call, and I'm up to speed on what's happening, and I can talk to the media right there.
Does that come to become cumbersome? Like they're kind of, the press is already wanting to know and you're in the middle of it still? I mean, is that kind of just part of the job where it's just a norm now?
It's only cumbersome when the press doesn't have patience. I've been in my vehicle listening as a call comes out on the radio, and then my phone rings from the press, and our folks aren't even on scene yet, and the press is asking me for information about it yet. And I'm like, hey, listen, you got to give our guys time to get on scene before I can even tell you I heard the same radio traffic you heard. I'll let you know when we get there.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That's the most frustrating time. But other than that, if it's something past or whatever, I don't mind talking to them.
And so they're doing this through the radio scanners.
Yeah, they listen on any which way they can. They're always listening to us, and the press, people on Facebook,
just
people,
everyday people. I had a friend, his dad, I won't say his name, but his dad, when we were in high school, I'd stay over, hang out. You'd hear it on. He had it on all night. Yeah. Like instead of sleeping, he had that on so loud that it would wake him up so he could be involved and hear what's going on.
Believe it or not, one of the things, one of the reasons I'm in police work is when I was like 8 years old, my dad bought a scanner, and Cops TV show. Yeah. Was a big thing, like in 1988. Remember when it launched?
Yeah, it was.
Fox?
That's
like
right.
Fox was still a news. It was still a new channel.
Yeah.
And I watched Cops as a kid. My dad had that scanner. He was a security guard, and everything was like. I mean, that was all part of life growing up. Like my dad was into it, and so it was something I wanted to do. He was actually a mechanic, full-time mechanic, working on cars and stuff. And I remember being in high school, right, dating Rachel Vandervoorty and saying, "Rachel, I'm going to go be a cop." And she was like, no, you'll get shot at. And I was like, Raphael Menottes. I'm going to be like Raphael Menottes. And she's like, no, you can't do that.
Oh, I remember Raphael.
Yeah,
Remember?
I
He
do
was our
too.
SRO.
Yeah,
At
he
the
was
time,
our-
wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
He left right about the time that I started at the sheriff's office. So.
I
remember
got
him.
a pretty big trouble with him.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's
Imagine
another
that.
story.
That's another story for a different
I
day, my
didn't.
friend.
I didn't. That
I
was
did.
good in high school.
So
I got stories about you, so don't
oh,
even.
Yeah.
so we'll hit
There
the
you
pause
go.
button. And I'm curious which ones you got.
I'm
So.
saying, we skipped school together. I remember that.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, no, what you talking about?
I do. I remember.
I do too, actually. I just kidding.
so you started the SO here. Was this your first law enforcement job?
It was, yeah. I was working. I started here pushing carts at Walmart in Sebastian, and when I went off to college to Orlando, I opened a Sam's Club up there. I worked my way up to being a manager at Sam's Club, and I actually got transferred back to Melbourne, and I was a team leader in Melbourne. And 9/11 happened, and I was already thinking about going to the military. I was thinking about the Air Force. I was a big Star Wars nerd, and I was like, I want to fly one of those fast planes. I don't know. I want to do something cool. And 9/11 happens, and I said, I'm going to the police academy. And I jumped right in the police academy, and I never looked back. It was the best decision I ever made. And fortunately, Sheriff Raymond hired me and brought me on board, and definitely a great.
How long
great
did Raymond?
He was sheriff from 2000 to 2008. He did 2 terms.
Okay, is that
Yeah.
it? I felt like he was longer than that.
No, it was 8 years, 2 terms.
Okay.
Yep.
And so now the current sitting sheriff has been running for, or he's been
Sheriff Moore. Yep.
Yeah,
He
for-
worked 20 years at Florida Highway Patrol, and then he left and came to us in 2009. When Raymond left at the end of 8, he took over in 2009, and it'll be 12 years at the end of this term. So
Wow.
three
So
terms.
3 terms. Wow.
So
So-
he'll have 32 years in law enforcement.
32
then.
years.
So he's ready
That's
to
a long time.
God, yeah.
That's a long time at any job.
Yes.
It is, especially
Yeah.
in this.
Any job, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because is he
Sure.
like when you become sheriff, are you going to be are you on call all the time still?
Yes. Yes.
Same scenario.
I view it that way. I believe that I'm always on call. I mean, no matter when. 1 week out of the year, I mentioned that I was on a cruise ship and I had alcohol. I'm doing that again in February this coming year.
Nice.
And it's 1 week out of the year that I turn my phones off. I put them in the safe. My wife has her phone on, and it's just a time to totally decompress. And otherwise, I consider myself always on duty.
That's why I like cruises,
Yes.
because you don't have any other choice. You do
Yes.
have a choice.
But it's a lot. It's an easier
just very
choice to make,
expensive.
though, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I consider myself off.
Once a
Otherwise,
year.
I'm always on. You know,
Okay.
I'm always on duty. So.
What'd you get your degree in when you went off for college?
So my bachelor's is in business administration from Stetson University. I didn't go off to Orlando and get that. I started at UCF and I came back. I finished my associate's degree at Eastern State Brevard. And from there, I heard a commercial for Stetson, and I had toured Stetson when I was in high school, and it was the most beautiful school I'd ever seen. And they were saying, hey, do you have 60 credit hours? You can get your bachelor's. And I went up there, and they were amazing. It was actually the Orlando campus. So I drove as an undercover detective. While I was an undercover detective, I drove up there every Saturday and sat through classes with Disney people and got my degree in business administration. And then I said, I'm going to stay and get an MBA. And they were like, it's the same teachers. It's the same kind of classes. Go do something else. And so I applied for the master's program at UCF, and I got accepted. I smoked through that in like a year, and I got my master's at UCF. I drove up constantly taking classes. And then my professor, I was on a wiretap actually at the time for prescription pills. It was a big case that happened here, and she was new to town. We were about the same age, and she was telling me, she said, hey, I need to get tenure. I'm studying what's going on. I said, this opioid crisis. So this is like 2011. Like, this opioid crisis is out of control, and of course it got worse from there, right?
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, that's great. I'm gonna put in for a grant." She got a multi-million-dollar grant out of DC, and she got tenure. And she's like, "You can't stop. You got to keep going." So I listened to her, and I went downstairs and I talked to the folks in the public affairs PhD program, and I jumped in that program. And here we are, 8 years later, and I'm going to graduate with my PhD next semester. So.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations
thank
to
you,
that.
thank you. Yeah, so it's been a long road.
Do you want to teach us how to podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting title, Dr. Sheriff.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. That's one of those things, and that's one of the things that I feel like has always helped me because at the end of that road, I know that they're going to call me doctor. And so I told the sheriff, I went to him in 2012 and I said, listen, I want to take your job when you're ready to retire. I'll never go against you. I'll support you while you're here. But when you're ready to retire, I want your job.
That's awesome.
And I said, listen, I don't care what you call me around here. You can call me Skippy. I don't need a title. They're going to call me doctor over there at UCF. You don't have a title here that impresses me. That impresses me. So you call me whatever you want. I'll do whatever you need. I say, you give me the hardest job here because that's what I want.
Nice.
And I've always gone in and told him that. And, I want to be out there with SWAT. I want to be on those scenes and making the tough decisions every day. And that's why I want to be sheriff.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you ever watch cop movies and you're like, ugh?
It depends on what it is. Some things are very unrealistic, and they give the public unrealistic expectations.
You mean the detective doesn't go in by himself with one gun?
Right, and solve the entire crime. Yeah.
Like kick in the door with no warrant?
And then he's also processing the DNA at the
Yes.
lab and all that stuff. Yeah, it's frustrating because the public gets a really bad perception of what, when we have an officer involved shooting, the first thing they talk about is, why didn't they shoot him in the leg? Okay, that's a movie. Right, we don't have that ability.
No.
And so it's just frustrating.
Right, because what I was said to myself, if I was to be a police officer, I would come. My priority is to come home.
Of course.
That's it.
Right.
Anything else is secondary. Right.
Well, we got to protect the public, right? I mean, that's what we're ultimately out there. Number one is the public. That's absolutely it. We're out there to protect and serve, and then of course, protect each other, protect ourselves, and then if we can save a life, we want to do that as well.
So Die Hard.
I like Die Hard, so I can't say anything bad about Die Hard.
Is that the best Christmas movie?
It's a great Christmas movie. My son is absolutely addicted to Home Alone, and I've seen Home Alone thousands of times.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, it's a good movie. So
yeah. All right.
yeah.
I was really, you're like, I had a question for you. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a good question. And
It was a good
wasn't a good question, but I was
And
like,
it was
it
garbage.
wasn't what I was expecting. It definitely wasn't what I was expecting.
Speaking of your son,
But-
your son's autistic? Am I
He
right?
is, yeah. He's 4 years old. It's been a conversation between me and my wife the last couple days. We've been talking a lot about it because there's a lot of treatment options, and we're getting ABA therapy in home. The therapist goes with him to school. He has language therapy, all kinds of stuff. But there's some experimental things that are happening, and we've been having a lot of talks at home about that.
Okay.
And it's very interesting.
Yeah. My niece is autistic.
Okay.
She, your son is verbal or?
He's nonverbal.
He's
Yeah, he
nonverbal.
had about 10, 15 words, and then he stopped saying them at 18 months. And that's when we got the diagnosis. We took him first to Jacksonville for hearing, and they said, no, it's not hearing. This kid can hear, which he can. And then we went to a developmental pediatrician in Orlando, and they said, no, this is what autism looks like. This is where you're at. So
Yeah.
he stopped saying his words.
And do you feel like having that now in your personal family, do you think that gives you a connection to that side of the community of people that are out there?
Absolutely. I mean,
Because I feel like law enforcement, especially in that job, when they get a call with somebody that's autistic, you don't know really,
it's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. It's
Very
really hard to
difficult.
tell.
Yeah.
So, how do you think that helps you with that side of our community?
It's certainly a focus of mine, ensuring that our deputies get autism training, and we're actually partnering with Vero PD. It's being announced now. We've got a special needs registry that's coming out, and it provides a bracelet for anybody with special needs. My son, actually, I'm very blessed that when they brought this idea up, I said, I want my son to be number one. So he's actually number one in the database.
That's
and,
awesome.
So he'll have one of those bracelets, and law enforcement will know what that bracelet looks like and immediately know this is a person with special needs. They'll be able to call into dispatch, and they can get information about that person and be able to know what their challenges are and how to reunite them with family if need be. So
That's big.
I think that's pretty powerful. I think that's
Yeah.
nice for any adult with exceptionalities or any student, anything. I think it really lets.
Anything.
And when is that supposed to start?
it's kicking off right now. Actually, I believe that the news stations are picking it up like this week. So you should start to see it rolling on the news. But somebody can just walk into any of the law enforcement agencies in the community, wherever you live, you can register, and they take a picture of your loved one. And it can be anything special needs. Doesn't have to be autism. Could be Down syndrome. Could be anything that they have, just mental issues. If they have mental health issues, we'll put them in the database.
Yeah, that's big for
Yeah.
sure. I think that's kind of progressive to, think about our community starting something like that? Because that's not everywhere.
No, it's pretty unique, and huge credit to Lieutenant Harrelson with Vero Beach Police Department. He's the one who came up with it and said, "Hey, we need to get on the same page." And I think all the law enforcement agencies came together. Everybody said that's a great idea. Let's do it. There's been, it's no drama. Everybody jumped on board, and it's been great. So very
That's
exciting.
awesome.
That's pretty cool.
So you get your PhD, but during all this, you're making moves at the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not working road patrol anymore. You're not the peon anymore.
I did 3 years in road patrol. I did 5 years total undercover. In the middle of that, I took about a 10-month break where I was the sex offender detective, keeping track of the sex offenders. From there, after my 5 years total, I got promoted to sergeant. I was sergeant of economic crimes for a little while, which was back in the detective bureau. So I went to, I worked call outs for homicides and other things as a detective sergeant. And from there, I got promoted to sergeant of public affairs. Then I became lieutenant of public affairs. Then I became the major of the Bureau of Administration, which was a huge challenge. That's fleet, IT, records, the courthouse, school resource, all the other stuff that nobody wants to deal with.
That's a big umbrella for
less
everything
law
closer.
enforcement and
Way
more
less law enforcement
management.
Totally different side of
Yeah.
things. Hiring, bringing people on board, just a totally different. I did that for 2 years. And then just this July, I became the major of the Bureau of Law Enforcement, which has been a breath of fresh air back to all the alpha male personalities on the law enforcement side. I had all the civilians inside the agency as the major of the Bureau of Administration, and I just did not realize, all the personalities and all the things that happen in a civilian world. So I'm excited. Chain of command is a great thing.
Yeah, it's got to
But
be
that's-
a completely different animal
Oh, absolutely.
from going from dealing with law enforcement to civilian.
Absolutely. Totally different. So
But
it was a
great,
challenge.
great experience though to be able to have both under your.
Huge.
So when
Out
were you
there.
promoted to sergeant?
2012.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So it's been 7 years, but 7 years to go from sergeant to major is a pretty big jump.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
So what do you say to the people that say he's just another good old boy that rose through the ranks because Lore liked him?
Yeah, so I would definitely say to those folks that, look at my experiences in the agency, the things that I did when I was coming up through the ranks. The pill mill case that really, I believe, got me promoted to sergeant was a statewide wiretap. I'm actually in the process of reading a book right now about the first one that preceded my case. And we were up on 8 different pill clinics. We closed 8 pill clinics around the state: Sarasota, Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando. I mean, we closed a whole bunch of these pill clinics. We arrested 7 physicians. Huge case.
Yeah, that's a big
Pam
case.
Bondi
Yeah.
came to town, and they all said, "Hey, you need to promote this guy." I mean, that was a big case, writing those wiretaps. When they added up all the words, they said I wrote more than War and Peace for the wiretaps. Like
Wow.
the first one was 400 and something pages. The first one that I wrote. I mean, it was just unbelievable. It was, it's a big document to do that kind of stuff. So DEA was recruiting me really hard, and that's when I went in to see the sheriff to tell him, "Hey, I want to take your job when you're ready to retire," because I didn't want to go work for DEA. I love our community. I didn't want to go work on the Texas border. That's not me. I don't want to do that job. And so the sheriff thought I was coming in to quit. He thought I was coming in to say, "Hey, I'm out," and he was very happy when I did come in and say what I said. So when I told him that, he recognized that his time here left was finite, right? That he knew he was going to do 2016. And I'm pretty sure at that point he knew, like, that's probably it for me. 32 years in law enforcement is enough. So his goal at that point is, okay, I've got this young guy who's ambitious, who's getting his education. It's my job to train him up and get him ready to take this job when I'm done. That's ultimately, as a good leader, you're always trying to pull people up with you and get them in place so that they can replace you.
Yeah, we've discussed that. We were actually just discussing that before.
Yeah.
Right before you
So,
walked in.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that there's an element of that. And
Yeah.
did I move up fast? Yeah, absolutely. But I've had some really good experience along the way. And I'll tell you, every hard decision that happens, I'm in on it. I don't always agree with the sheriff. We don't always agree on everything. And there are times where we absolutely flat out totally disagree. And I say, "Sheriff, I think this is a bad move." And then sometimes he's he's right. I go, wow, that's experience. I'm learning from him.
Yeah.
There are times where he goes, you were right. And we have that mutual respect for each other. We can totally disagree, but at the end of the day, he's my boss. And, I got to do what he tells me, what is his decision until I'm the guy.
And you said you went into the you went in the police academy in 01. So how long have you been?
No, I went in actually in early 03.
Okay.
And I was hired in late 03, October 03. I started on my birthday in 03.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
It took me that long. So September 11th is 9/11.
Yeah.
It took me most of 2 to get the paperwork, to process through the academy and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, for the people that may think that you rose through quickly, I mean, you've gone through schooling, you've gotten a lot of experience. Like, there's a lot of work that you could do to get you there quicker.
Oh,
that some people don't do.
absolutely.
Right?
The experiences that I've had in my 16 now years of law enforcement are incredible. I mean, I've been through the FBI Academy up in Quantico, Virginia.
How was that?
You just did that not long ago, correct?
I did that in 17.
Oh, 17, okay.
Yeah,
Couple years ago.
October 1st, 2017, I was up there. Just some of the stuff that I've been involved in at the sheriff's office has been really unbelievable.
I used to think I wanted to do that, and then I was like, I'm too old.
The FBI?
Yeah.
If any federal job, you got to be 35 or under to jump
Yeah.
into that. So I missed that
Too old.
window. We missed that window.
I think people that don't know, and the listeners listening, is the fact that you couldn't have to go get your doctorate. You
No.
can still be on the same path without
Sure.
that. So I think that it shows a lot to who you are and what you're trying to continue your education to make yourself better for this position, because you could easily just be done with that and do what you need to do in your job, but yet you're still trying to do the other things to make you better. So,
And I think other people have recognized that too, because you just got a big award, right? 40
I
under
did,
40?
Yeah, 40 under 40 from the International Association of Chiefs of Police. I was in Chicago to receive the award. First time in Chicago. I got a crazy Chicago story for you. I don't know how political you guys get on the show or not, but so President Trump came to speak to the Chiefs. He came.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So regardless of where you're at, the President came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're there. We're hanging out.
It's huge.
So
That was horrible.
after he speaks, there's a bus that runs us back to our hotels because this is a huge convention center. So I said, okay, man, this is cool. I'm going to head back to the hotel. So we get on the bus. The bus is taking a completely different route back to the hotel. I have no idea what's going on. There's protests all over the city of Chicago. The bus driver at some point stops and says, well, boys, this is as far as I can take you. He dumped us out right in the middle of the protests.
Okay.
So you got a busload of cops right in the middle of this Trump protest where he was just speaking to us, and all these folks are very angry about it. So now it's like, okay, got to find my hotel room.
it almost sounds staged, like the bus driver did it on purpose.
nope.
I'm not saying he
Actually,
did, but it almost sounds
there's a river that runs right through the middle there, and Trump Hotel is on the river. And so all of the bridges that cross that river were all blocked because they didn't want the protesters crossing to get to the hotel. And so we were just stuck, and the only thing they could do is just drop us right there. And so we crossed on foot, but they had mounted patrol and everything there. So it's pretty wild.
So were you like showing some kind of uniform?
No, I was in my suit, and so there were other guys that were in uniform, and they bolted. They went right to the hotel.
I would.
Because Chicago is a big no-gun area, and so just flying into Chicago with your gun, I didn't do that.
Right.
I just didn't do it. But actually, they all went that way. I went towards them. I wanted to see what was going on. I'm in Chicago, and there's a protest. I got to see this.
So
Chicago's a big no-gun area for legal owners.
Yeah, but it's still a pain to fly to the airport and everything. I just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah. So growing
I
up
actually like Chicago. Chicago is one of the cities
cool.
that I've been to that I'm like,
in the Magnificent Mile area.
Pizza is fantastic, by the way.
yes.
that
Yeah.
should be on our. That could be a great gauntlet
New
question.
York or Chicago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really want to go for St. Patrick's Day when they dye the river. Like,
That would be cool. I would love to see that.
yeah.
That would be awesome.
I would go back. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool town. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. Very expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Yeah, no, it is. So you going towards the crowd reminds me of, as a kid, I used to live in a city called Laredo, Texas, right on the border.
Okay.
And every day there was pretty much police like at somebody's house around the neighborhood. And my grandma would be like, come on, let's go see what's going on. Every time. So like the crowd would always gather around the outside of the house just to see what's going on. Because there was always a police officer.
She brought you with her.
No cable.
Yeah.
Like,
Vente, mijo.
Yes,
Vente, mijo.
yeah.
No cable.
Yeah.
I had to
exactly.
go see it. I wanted, and I walked right with me and there was another guy that was with me. We walked right through the middle of the protest. I just wanted to see it. And then, of course, we walked over to Chicago PD. Those guys couldn't have been any nicer. And I tried my best to recruit as many of us as I could. I said, it's 82 where I live, and I can hire you right now.
Yes. Yeah. You got a big selling point. This is paradise.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's true.
And I said,
Yeah.
the cost of living is very low. Come on down. I'll hire you right now. So
Yeah.
So when you went to Orlando, that didn't like want you to go to the big city?
No, I actually did not enjoy the city. I like that anywhere in Indian River County, you can jump from Fellsmere to South County in 15, 20 minutes. That's, you don't have to wait at lights. I get frustrated when the snowbirds are here. I'm like, 3 times at 58th and 60? What? Are you kidding me? Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good time.
It's because you got the motor cop out there.
Yeah, we do. We've got some great folks out there. It's a
Yeah.
good time. But I know we were going somewhere else before I told that crazy Chicago story, but I have no
The
idea.
That's okay.
But I brought up the 40 under 40 because
Yes.
I feel like other people have recognized what you've done too. It's
So
not
what-
just lore.
So what is
not
the 40
just-
under 40?
So every year, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and when I say international, I truly mean international, they choose 40 top upcoming law enforcement officers under the age of 40. And I was actually the first Florida Sheriff's Deputy ever selected for the award. So no Florida Sheriff's Deputy has ever received it before. So that was especially cool. But I was in there. There was a girl from Dubai who received it, a young lady from Dubai. Royal Canadian Mounted Police were there. One of their deputy, or whatever they're called, Mounties, received the received the award. And so it was a diverse crowd. And the guy who sat at my table that I had breakfast with he's actually the new chief of Ferguson, Missouri. And so I got to talk to him about what it was like. He came from Georgia to take over that police agency in the middle of,
I'd call not
everything.
it on that.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
That's a big
But
ask.
but
Yeah.
hey, he's at the convention, so he's
He won
obviously
the award. Yeah.
and he's got his stuff together apparently, right?
No doubt. Very, very.
Yeah, but you think even for somebody like that that's got their stuff together, I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like that's
it's-
more of a risk for somebody that
Yeah, I can
you
see
have
that.
a lot of
You don't have to
opportunity
take it.
all over, and you're gonna go take that on. Like,
But you know
that's-
what, though?
That's a big ask.
But that's
That
I mean,
obviously then that's
are
probably
you-
the right guy for the job. Then if he's
Yeah.
more than willing, where he has options probably and still takes it.
I understand what he's saying. The average tenure of a police chief in America is 2.5 years. So this guy's under 40 and he's taking on that job. That's a big risk, right? He could very well do the rest of his career there, or he could be gone in a
Right.
year or 2 years because people say, yeah, this isn't.
But if
right.
he pulls it off,
if he pulls it off, man, he's as good as it gets. That's
yeah, because
that's
Ferguson's
awesome.
kind of
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy. If you follow the story, right, it can be pretty crazy.
One of the things that we talk about all the time that I believe attributed to the incident in Ferguson, the fallout after the event, is public records in Florida are so different, right? I mean, anybody can walk in and request anything from the sheriff's office right now. You want my salary, you want my text messages, you want any of that stuff, all that is wide open public record. And so you'll notice that whenever we have something, we get out in front of it right away. We're presenting to the media, hey, here's what's happening, here's what happened, here's why it happened. In Ferguson, if you look at that incident, they said, we're not releasing anything. No comment.
Yeah.
So that's why
and that
Florida
just
Man
brings
happens,
the divide
right?
further.
That is exactly why Florida.
I try explaining. I try explaining this to them that like
Let's talk
Florida
about
is-
Florida Man.
Florida Man is out there.
So for people that don't know what Florida Man is, right? Because
Yes.
I actually had somebody out of town told me that they're from like Massachusetts. They're like, yeah, what's up with Florida? I was like, what do you mean? They're like, there's a whole subreddit or
Yes.
a Reddit subthread of Florida Man. I was like, what do you mean? So I started reading it. It's great content.
I'm so glad that you're all you guys Reddit guys or
I haven't read
Yes.
into it, but I know about
Reddit.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Reddit.
Oh, Reddit,
my
yes,
People,
not
my
that
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do at night. I read
awesome.
Reddit.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Between Reddit and YouTube, it's amazing I get anything done. But I mean, if there's anything I waste time on, it is Reddit and YouTube.
My wife,
Yeah.
I'm laying in bed. And my wife's like, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, "Relationship advice on Reddit." Like those stories are unbelievable.
And then the comments
Yeah.
are even better.
Oh, I love
Yes.
it.
All right, so I have a question
Those
for
are
you.
rabbit
Yeah.
holes, though.
So
You can really
so YouTube,
Okay.
do you read the comments or no?
I know. I really don't. I don't pay attention.
Oh
to
my
the
gosh, you're
comments.
missing half the entertainment. My wife, I just
yeah.
had this discussion with my wife last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, half the entertainment is the video. The other half is the comment section.
I'm an
Yeah.
Amazon review guy. I'm always
Oh,
looking for the
that's-
funny Amazon reviews.
Yes.
Gummy bears,
Yes.
Haribo,
Oh, no doubt.
sugar-free.
Yes,
Gummy
yes.
bears are the best.
Yeah, I've seen
The
those.
people
Those are
who
funny.
do funny comments on Amazon, they're my hero. Like,
Yeah.
I just love that people spend time doing that they have time to do it. I buy so much from Amazon that the UPS guy like knows us by name.
Yeah.
I don't have time to review this stuff. I love
Yes.
that people do that.
I'm with you because the Haribo, for folks that are listening, Haribo sugar-free Amazon reviews.
Well, I think it all started with the wolf shirt, didn't it? The
I don't
wolf
know.
with the 3 moons. Remember
I
that shirt?
remember. I don't remember what it said, but I do remember reading some
That's
reviews
where
on
it
that.
really
Yes.
started. That was the first time I ever became aware of people doing funny things on Amazon.
Okay.
And it's a shirt with a wolf and there are 3 wolves and a moon or something. It's awesome. The
I have
comments
to
are
check
amazing.
that out because I know the sugar-free gummy bear one.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty-
They're all
Yes.
bathroom jokes,
Yeah.
but I appreciate it. So
That's sugar free. Will get you.
yeah, well, because apparently if you eat too many of those that are sugar-free,
It's probably
not
the,
good for you.
because
I'll
they
tell
probably put the
you-
sugar alcohols or something in there, and that stuff.
I'm not
all
sure,
that
but
stuff.
apparently
I'm
you
pretty
can't
sure
eat
if
a
you
whole
eat a lot of
bag.
that stuff, it'll go right through you. Yeah.
I'll tell you the other thing that I'm totally enamored with, and you guys are going to laugh at me, but I end up watching it. I don't want to say hours, but way too much of it is TikTok. Are you guys on this?
Oh
thing
my
yet?
God! All right, so here's the deal.
Listen, we're not good at social media.
We're
And
not-
I know
yeah,
you have a campaign going right now.
we struggle. That's one of
learning.
we're learning curves.
So,
for sure.
so I was able to get us on TikTok.
Okay.
A second
and my
account.
first hour
'cause we
was
tried-
like, because Corey tried to create one,
Okay.
it
And then we
failed.
never got the
And
password
then
back,
Corey's
so we
like,
couldn't
I
get
forgot
on.
the password.
I may have
I asked him
not
that
have
every
forgot the
week. We're like, I
password.
don't know the password. It's like,
not
oh,
only that,
okay.
but I'm like, just reset it. He doesn't know how to do it. So I was like, I'll just take care of it from
I'm
here.
not
No,
the IT guy.
I got this. So anyways,
you got to spend some time on there.
it's
There's
awesome.
some fun ones.
It's very entertaining. Very entertaining.
Yeah.
Once you get it's like Spotify or anything else. Once you get it dialed in for like what you find entertaining, everything that pops up in your feed, there's no political drama. There's no, nonsense local drama. It's just people having a good time. And it makes me feel like what social media felt like when it first started. Like my first MySpace account.
Oh my
I
God.
have that feel again.
All right. So did you have MySpace?
I did. Yeah.
Did
Oh,
you
yeah.
have your own like background?
Of course.
Who didn't?
Yeah.
You
I
had-
used to
you-
love MySpace.
Hey,
MySpace was
wait,
way
wait,
better
wait,
than
wait,
Facebook.
wait,
Oh yeah.
Oh, Corey's
Who was
younger.
the top 10 on the friends list there?
Tom. Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, he's everybody's best friend.
Of course.
Tom's broke now.
I was
No, Tom
he's
is
not.
a millionaire.
Tom is doing good.
I had
Yeah.
just come
He
back.
sold before it went under.
I had just come back from Orlando, and somebody here in town, Sebastian, had a party, and they invited me over. And I don't know if you remember Brent Self.
Yes.
He became a fireman.
He played baseball.
Yeah, he
was on
played
the
baseball.
team
With us.
with
Yeah,
us.
and I went over, and he had just met his wife, or they were engaged or something. And I went over there and like, well, just hit us on MySpace, and I'm like, what space? And he's like, MySpace.
MySpace. But
Yeah,
your
and-
space?
And that's when I went home and made a MySpace account after that. I was probably 20, 21 years old, something like that. I remember that. So
I feel like, and I never had a MySpace. My
'cause
wife
you're like
did. But
Baby.
no, I was just completely against social media for
It's because he
whatever reason.
barely texts.
Yeah,
That's good.
I hardly text. Like, you got to call me if you want to get a hold of me. But I felt like you had to put it together a lot more, like a web page almost.
Which is way better. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
like,
It
I-
gave
I
it-
felt
it
there
was your own that way.
educational.
Yeah.
More.
Educational?
Yeah, and the fact that you actually had to do something. It
Yeah. When
wasn't just
people were
like,
using Facebook, I was like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Don't use Facebook.
I remember MySpace
Just
because
in
you
the
could put your own
background.
playlist of your favorite songs on MySpace,
Yeah,
But
right? It's
yeah,
been-
because what I like
been so
about
long.
MySpace is that
Wow.
people could visit my page and hit at me on my MySpace, like Brett Self was saying.
yeah.
So I was like a nerd when I got my first computer in like 95. Windows 95 was a big thing. And so I had
You
like
got one of the beginning ones back in the
I
day.
did, yeah. So I had
Like,
like,
2 megabytes.
literally, I laugh every time I get a new phone because I'm like, this one's like 20 times more faster than my first
Yeah.
computer. 1.2 gigahertz, right?
Yeah.
1.2. So
Little floppy
Crazy.
disk.
Yeah.
it is. It's
I had the
crazy.
same thing.
Yeah.
Packard-
I'm guessing by the facial expressions, that's not a lot.
No, it's sad. It's very sad.
No, it's
Right.
not.
No.
But
I'm messing.
I
know.
created like an Alta Vista like web page back then,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so at that point, MySpace was sort of just people, it was a way for people to create their own web page
Mm-hmm.
without having to do some of the nuts and bolts, but you still had to use there was HTML coding
Yeah.
and stuff
Yes.
that they
You had to
wanted
copy
you
and
put-
paste the
You had to
codes and things and find them. I remember
yeah,
that.
It was a
Yeah.
big deal
Yeah.
that you had to do that, but
Before that, did you have LiveJournal? Because I know my wife had LiveJournal.
I never had LiveJournal. No, and it
hell's
took me a
LiveJournal?
long time.
Never even heard
It
of
was like
LiveJournal.
it was pre like MySpace. It was
feel like
social
you made
media
it
though.
up.
It
What
took
year
me a
was-
long time to migrate from
Get on my level.
from that to Facebook. It was a long time before I officially made the jump where I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I remember being one of those laggards on that.
So was I, but there was nobody left. It was like me and Tom.
Really?
Yeah, it's like
And
Tom,
Eric, and Eric.
but Tom wouldn't write me back. he wasn't adding me.
That's funny.
Damn it, Tom.
We mentioned Reddit and we just went down like major rabbit holes there
I
for
know,
a bit.
but that's okay.
But that was good.
Yeah.
That's okay.
awesome.
So,
So
yeah, sure.
you said he kind of helped you along Sheriff Lore.
Yep.
And did he help you with the campaign? Because he knows you're going to campaign then. Because that's got to be a whole different animal, right? Like that's not law enforcement related anymore.
It is. You know, I had my own ideas of what I wanted to do. He, as far as like helping me, advice.
Yeah.
But I've got my own strategist. I've got my own people. They're not people who worked with him.
Okay.
And you know, he'll tell you, and he says it out in public all the time. He'll say like, you know, I'm a flip phone and Eric's an iPad. Like he makes that analogy. Because I looked at some of the stuff that he did and I said, you know, like I want to be high speed about this. You
Little
know,
arcade.
I want,
yeah.
I want to make sure that people recognize my logo, that people know what, you know. So I did a lot of different things than what he did, and I'm continuing to evolve and do new things. So
Well, that's
it's
awesome.
always fun.
So how does one become a campaign manager? Like what do you look for? Not necessarily that like what are their credentials, but like what do you look for in that campaign manager?
It's got to be somebody that you can work with, but that'll also be very open and honest with you, because I want him to tell me, hey, listen, you're screwing up, or this looks terrible, or, you know, this is really the wrong way to do things. And he needs to understand that it's ultimately my decision because it's my campaign. It's my name that's out there, but I want him to give me that feedback and I want him to be completely open with me. And so he actually said, my strategist, he said, I won't take you on until I come meet with your family, with your wife. I want to know that you're the right candidate, that we work together right. And so, you know, there was a whole process that went into that before we ever did anything. So
I could appreciate that. They want to know, you know, the whole Eric Flowers, not just the name and this
yeah,
one-time
because I mean,
meeting or
he's putting
something.
blood, sweat, and tears into this too.
Yeah.
So he wants to know that he's absolutely on the right track as well. So my wife is amazing too. I have to mention that. I can't do this without saying, I can't do what I'm doing right now without her. So she's a huge part of my parents and her parents. They're all amazing. Her sister, they're all good people. They
'Cause
help.
That's got to be hard, right? If you're always on
Oh,
call,
it's-
you're always busy. Like
Yeah.
it's grueling. And this is the so again to the folks that may say, oh, he rose through quickly. They're not seeing the extra hours that you're putting in. They're not seeing the nuances that it takes to get to where you're at, and it's not easy.
People look at me campaigning and they're like, I don't know how you do it. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been keeping up with the sheriff constantly when he was going out night after night after night throughout the entire 16 election. I was with him the entire time. Every time we went somewhere, I was with him doing this. So for me, it's like a marathon runner training for a marathon. I've been training for this for years. This is my life.
Yeah, this is
awesome.
the next step.
And I think too, to mention your wife, I think it's not just you running; it's your family. Your family has to
It
go through this
is.
process. I'm following you on
Absolutely.
social media. Your wife's there with you a lot
She
of times.
is.
I mean, she's involved a lot with you, and
And I tell
that says a
people
lot.
too, if there was somebody else out there that I looked at and said, this guy is better than me, this guy should be the guy, I'd be out holding signs for that guy. There's no doubt about it. If there was somebody else that I thought, you know, this guy really, I respect him, I would be holding that person's signs. I don't want to drag my family through this. I don't want my family to have to do this. I mean, it's something I aspire to do. But I wouldn't, if there was somebody else out there that I'd say, man, that guy's just a better person than me, I'd be holding their signs.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a lot. It's a lot on your family.
Just real quickly before, I know we're going to have to wrap things up, but
Okay.
how do people get involved with the winner? Can they get involved with your campaign?
Absolutely. Flowersforsheriff.com is my website. They can go on and sign up, and they can sign up to volunteer. They can sign up that they just want a sign for their yard, or if they want to hold signs or anything. There's a whole menu of options that you can choose. Or you can just sign up to get our email list, and I'll keep you updated on what's happening with the campaign. So
Okay.
please like and share social media. That's all good stuff, too. We appreciate that. I got to come back and tell you guys about my undercover experience, because
Yeah.
you guys
Yes,
we didn't
definitely.
even talk about that today.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's plan that.
That's the
Yeah,
most exciting
I
thing.
wanted to
haven't talked
ask,
about.
but I was like, I don't know if you'd be.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I love
let's-
talking about that. I love it.
Because because I think I know about that one,
Which one?
the pill.
Oh yeah, that's a boring story. I got way better stories than
Really?
that.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
yep. This is
Oh,
a.
yeah. I'll come back sometime.
And we're back monthly with
Yeah.
Eric Flowers.
Yeah, I would
So-
love that.
Yeah.
We always ask this question at the end, just to
Okay.
kind of get. We want to kind of hear from you there. Based on your experiences, what is one of the most important pieces of advice you can give to our listeners? It doesn't have to be. It could be anything that they could implement into their lives to improve their lives and move forward.
The most important people are your family and the people, whatever that means to you, right? Like family in 2019 is a different definition than it was in 1950. It doesn't matter who they are, who you consider family, they're family to you, and make time for them, love them, care for them, because you only get one shot with them, and everything else is just noise. Take care of the people who take care of you.
That is solid
Love it.
advice.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, as he said, please like, share, subscribe, follow our stuff on social media. If you've got any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at fullgorillalife@gmail.com.
And if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us Instagram and Facebook at Full Gorilla Life, and on Twitter at Gorilla Full, like beautiful, but with a gorilla.
Oh, look at that. Nailed it. It's up to me now. All right. So don't forget to visit our website at fullgorilla.life, as well as hit subscribe on your podcast app of choice. There it is. Messed it up.
Almost had it.
Later.
All right.
Take care.